You can't get every single thing done by yourself. You're going to need other people. And then you're also going to need to consider other people's feedback. And this is why, like what I say, I lead with impact, because L, listen, E, empower, A, adapt, and D, develop. And what I realize is that some managers, some members can't listen. They only consider their one viewpoint. Other times, you have to look at whether or not somebody is adaptable. Can they change the way they're doing business? Can they change who does what? And then you will make a determination that this person is used to what they say goes, so they can't take feedback from other people on the team. And then develop, who else have they developed? When they keep saying, I did this, I did that, there's no development. There's no, the team. I task somebody, I help somebody do this, then you realize that they don't develop anybody in their office. It's just all about them.
Have you ever felt like diplomacy is a skill you could stand to work on a bit? If so, this is the episode for you, because I'm joined this week by Michael Dillard, a retired US diplomat and executive coach. We'll be discussing integrity, of course, leadership, adaptability, and the role of people in that leadership, and why this matters just as much during those challenging times as it does when the sun is shining. Michael also shares some of his experiences working on international projects, the significance of empowering local teams and understanding local culture and knowledge, and the challenges of navigating political changes. We cover everything here, from process to people, from culture to individual experiences, and back again. So don't miss it. Stick around.
Welcome to the Leading with Integrity podcast. Leadership talk for the modern manager. With your host, David Hatch.
Michael, welcome to Leading with Integrity. It is lovely to have you on the show. Looking forward to our conversation already. Over to you to introduce yourself, really, and tell us a bit about your background and what you do today, why you do it, all of those lovely things.
Great. Unemployed on a Friday, a U.S. diplomat on a Monday. Can you imagine that, right? Like, does that really happen to people? Yes, that is my story. I was laid off, and get this, my wife was pregnant at the same time. Then it was during the mortgage crisis of all times. Unemployed month 1, no income, no check. Month 2, no income, no check. Month 3, I'm applying for any and every job. David, can you imagine having no income coming in? Then I had an opportunity to go and be a store manager in the mall. But my wife said, Michael, something better and greater is in store for your life. Guess what? I went to the interview anyway. While I'm in there interviewing, my wife is walking around the mall praying that I don't get the job. What type of spouse does that? The next morning, I'm excited. I check my email waiting for the job offer. But instead, I see an email that says, interview Washington, D.C. for a financial controller job. I click on it. It says, you have to have a top secret security clearance. I said, what kind of job is this? You have to pass a medical background for you and your family. I said, whoa, this is getting scary, David. And then it says you have to travel the world. So I go and Google financial controller, USAID. And it says that when you're traveling around the world, you will represent U.S. citizens with a diplomatic passport. David, I accidentally applied to be a U.S. diplomat, and they let me in. And the rest, as they say, is history. That's just one version of my story, you know? And the most important thing is that it was integrity that made all this possible, right? Doing the right thing at the right time all the time. So that's just a glimpse of who I am as a person.
Well, I've met quite a few and talked a lot about accidental managers on this show. But I think you're the first accidental diplomat that I've met. So,
yes, you know, one thing in life, you know, it's all about looking at closed doors as new opportunities to get new keys. What do I mean by that? See, right before my manager tapped me on the shoulder saying, we're going to have to let you off, something in me said, Michael, it's time for you to go back and get a master's degree in accounting. Now, at the time, I had an MBA in personal finance. So I'm like, why do I need more degrees, more keys? The personal development book asked me a very serious question. Michael, when you're driving down the road, do you put a cassette tape in to listen to music? I said, oh, no. That's old fashioned. I listen to a CD. Now, some of y'all millennials are laughing like a CD. What is that, right? Then, Michael, what do you watch when it's time to watch a movie? Do you go to Blockbuster and rent a cassette tape? I said, oh, no. I go and I rent a DVD. Michael, technology changes, things change. So I went back and I got that master's in accounting. And that was the education key that allowed me to be a financial controller as a U.S. diplomat, traveling the world, managing millions of dollars and managing people.
It's an incredible start to an episode and your story as well, I have to say, delivered with great energy too. So thank you for sharing. So let's talk a bit about your time as a diplomat then. I mean, what are some of the memories that stand out most from your time doing that work?
What stands out are the people. You know, you travel a lot, right? Imagine every 3 to 4 years, you're picking up your belongings and you're traveling. But it's the people that make you feel comfortable, right? It's the people that makes every day worth getting up. And from working in the Democratic Republic of Congo, imagine waking up on a Saturday morning, you're away from your family, your friends, the loved ones that you left. But the local community, the local people who make you feel at home, that's what I remember. South Africa, Zambia, Afghanistan, the Dominican Republic, I mean, all around the world, those people, the community is what made it feel very special.
That's, yes, a common thread I hear from a lot of leaders, actually. It is, and it has to be all about the people, I think, doesn't it? Otherwise, why are we doing any of it?
All about the people.
Yeah. Well, you're on the right podcast for it as well. We're all about the people first leadership here. So
definitely.
And can you tell us anything about the sorts of projects that you worked on and what took you to some of those countries as well?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to work on a lot of wonderful projects. For example, when I was working and living in Zambia, I had the opportunity of working with one of their ministries. It was a new ministry that they were forming, and we wanted to be able to help them enhance tourism for the country. And so my job was to do a risk assessment, take a look at the financials, take a look at their internal controls, and see if they had the right people and systems in place to be able to manage millions of dollars. So I would go and I would meet with the ministers, with the team. And most importantly, I give a leadership lesson. As a leader, you don't have to be the one at the meeting doing all the talking. There's a time and a place. And what I mean by that, let me give you a little bit more behind the lens picture. Imagine this. You are the diplomat from X country with the money, but your team, they're local. There's a local team, right? They're from that country. So now you go and you meet with the ministers, their leaders, and you're in the room discussing projects, asking about their financial systems and et cetera. Well, who knows more about the culture? You or them? Your local team does. Who has more at stake to wanting this project to succeed? Your local team does. So when I'm in those meetings, I let my teammates know that, hey, you are an expert in this. You are invested in this project. Feel free to lead. Feel free to take over the conversation, add your input, because there's things that I don't know. But some leaders make the mistake of wanting to be in the front, wanting to be having the light shine on them 24/7, and then they miss out on key golden opportunities that in the end will make the project fail.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think it's a combination, isn't it, of like one of the myths of leadership, the whole like lead from the front idea. And also, yes. I think it's very easy to kind of give into the ego a bit when you find yourself in a leadership position.
Ego big time, right? Because then the pressure, I know we're going to talk about it, the pressure kicks in. Integrity. Oh, you know everything, right? I remember I was working on a project and then I asked one of the teammates, asked them, like, how come other people aren't trying to work on this problem? It was like, well, Michael, you got the fancy title. Michael, you get paid the big bucks. It's not our problem. It's your problem.
Awkward moment. Yeah.
Awkward moment. So it gave me a chance. Once again, this is the benefit of when you travel and work with different cultures. You understand the decision making. And sometimes it's a good thing. What I mean by that is that there is order. So the message really was that, hey, you're in the front seat. I'm here to support you. You say do this, we're going to follow you. Now, we might know that there's a cliff at the end of that street right there, but you didn't ask us. So, hey, let's keep on going. But if you're a leader, I'm opening up doors now. But if you're a leader who involves your people and say, hey, what do you think about this? Are there other opportunities, other things we should be trying? Now you've invited them to the table to sit with you to help you lead with impact.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the difference, isn't it, between genuine collaboration and true leadership, and
yes,
on the other hand, what I would call malicious compliance. The whole like, well, you didn't ask, so
that is rampant right there. Malicious compliance. You see that all the time, and people just sit back, right, watching like, when are they going to hit that brick wall? When are they going to hit? Oh, it didn't work, did it? Oh, yeah, I didn't know it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, it's like the Michael Jackson meme, isn't it, with the popcorn?
Yes, yes. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I'm loath to move on because I feel like there's a really loads of more interesting stories you can tell there as well. But I am also curious to hear the story of how you went from that role into what you do today and what was behind that change and that decision process.
The change came because I'm overseas working in a country. I'm the regional financial controller for 5 different countries, leading, organization at the time. We're managing about 500 employees. I'm responsible for the budgets, the accounts payable division, and audits. And I'm the leader. And each country had their own leader. So therefore, when a leader in X country had a problem, when they deal with finances, they're calling me. They're wanting to meet with me. But I can only be in so many places at so many times. Then I ended up getting a leadership coach. Had a leadership coach, and it changed my perspective. I went from being burnt out to working 24/7, working on the weekends, to having more time on my hand. I was a changed person, so much that I went and I got trained to become a leadership coach as well. That moment changed me, and I am a true believer now. Leaders, you need a leadership coach in your corner because they will provide you with new perspectives on how to lead with impact. I'll give you an example. An empowerment example that I always give and I'm always coaching people on. You have 2 employees. One employee on the spectrum from, say, 0 to bottom, 10 goes up here in motivation, then 0 here at the bottom, and then 10 over here as far as knowledge of the systems in your organization. If you give that employee that's a 10 in motivation, but a 2 in knowledge, in organizational knowledge, they're going to fail because there's a policy. There's a pothole at the end of the road that they don't know about. There's a limitation. They're going to fail. But you try to give them that project. Week 2, what is that going to do to the morale? Then you have the employee that is a 2 in motivation, but then they're 10 in knowledge. Guess what? You give them the project and they're just like, I'm sick. Can you help me do this? Right? They're not motivated. So guess what? Once again, you delegated somebody. You tried to empower them and it failed. But if you have had meetings with each one of your employees every quarter and you just said, hey, where did you work at before you worked here? Now you get to know the person. Someone might say, oh, I used to work for the government and I was responsible for doing audits. Okay, so what made you come work here? Well, I really like the cause. I really like what the organization stands for. So now you realize that this person is a value-oriented employee. So now you can task that employee to work on things that add value. The other employee used to work at another company and it was slow paced and they wanted to do more things, more fast paced. They wanted to learn new things. You take that employee and you expose them to your new projects. So this is how you are empowering employees. So this is why I say I help leaders and organizations lead with impact.
You kind of drawn a picture of a graph there, and I like the graph. It's a tough one, isn't it? It makes me think as well of like the hiring conundrum that a lot of managers have about whether it's better to look for like that dreaded term fit, which I think they really mean like personality and work ethic, all these other kinds of things that are borderline impossible to judge in an interview, but set that question aside. But it's that question of like fit versus skill set and knowledge and experience. And I feel like a lot of hiring managers struggle with that, the balance between those two priorities. And it's maybe a parallel to your graph as well, isn't it? Because to me, like I've always thought the skills are great, but I can teach those if they don't have whatever that ethereal fit thing is, however we decide to describe it. Like if they're not right for the organization or they won't fit with the team, that's more important. So I don't know. I mean, am I straining the metaphor? Does it make sense to you?
No, it definitely makes sense. I've hired, lots of people throughout my career, and I look back and I felt like each hire was a perfect fit for the organization at the time. You might have an employee that is very, very knowledgeable that you're interviewing, but you realize they don't get along. They can't work as a teammate. They're saying it. It's coming out their mouth. I'm a good team player. But then when you ask them for examples, I did this. 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 They can't be a team player. They don't understand that you can't get every single thing done by yourself. You're going to need other people. And then you're also going to need to consider other people's feedback. And this is why, like I say, I lead with impact, because L, listen. E, empower, A, adapt, and D, develop. And what I realize is that some managers, some members can't listen. They only consider their one viewpoint. Other times, you have to look at whether or not somebody is adaptable. Can they change the way they're doing business? Can they change who does what? And then you will make a determination that this person is used to what they say goes. So they can't take feedback from other people on the team. And then develop, who else have they developed? When they keep saying, I did this, I did that, there's no development. There's no, the team. I task somebody, I help somebody do this, then you realize that they don't develop anybody in their office. It's just all about them.
Yeah, that's the worst, isn't it?
Yes.
It's one of the most important things a leader can do, in my opinion, is support, encourage, facilitate the development of the people they're leading. And I don't know, I sort of understand the human nature aspects of why a lot of people don't do it, because they're afraid they're like creating competitors for their job or something. But everyone's a winner if you do it right, though. Yeah.
Yes. And that's what comes down to organizational culture too, right? Because organizations sometimes they look and say, if I move David here, who's going to take David's spot there? Because his team is operating at a 10. So then they decide to hire outside. But if there's organizational development and trust within the organization and say, look, David, when you develop your team and they're ready to go, then we're going to bring you up. And if that's the culture, then everyone has an incentive to develop the people below them. And then the people at the top, if they're developing the people below them as well, it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think there's a mindset issue as well in there in those, and it's kind of linked to the culture, isn't it? But
yes,
it's I can't remember who originated this particular cliche. It might have been like a Dilbert comic strip or something, but it's that conversation between these two senior executives about training and development, and like one of them saying, "Well, what if I put loads of money and time and resource and train this person up, and then they leave?" And then the counter argument to that is, well, what if you don't and they stay? Like,
I like that one. I like that one. That's a funny one.
and it's, I mean, I've seen it. I'm sure you have as well. People do that. They're like, no, I don't want to give them too much new skills or new training. I don't want to get them to get too qualified, because then they'll be overqualified for their job and they'll leave, and then I have to go through all that hassle of replacing them.
The other aspect comes down to empowerment, right? That's why the Lead with Impact framework I developed, it came from like 15 years of traveling overseas, military leadership. And I noticed a pattern. Your point is they don't want to empower other people, because if they empower other people and they teach them, then the people walk into the office and they literally bypass that person, and then they go to the other person, right? So they want to be the gatekeeper of the knowledge, so that everyone comes to them. I've seen it so many times. You see a process and you're like, why do you have to do every single part of the step? The reason why is that's how they stay valuable to the organization, because you can't get rid of them. They start realizing, if I'm the only one that knows how to do it, you're not going to get rid of me.
Yeah, the flip side of it, of course, is you won't get promoted either. Because you'll be stuck there, won't you? Because if no one else can do it.
Yes. And so I noticed those signs as a leader, and I would diversify the skill sets, because I realized that there will be future opportunities for growth. And you don't want, as a leader, when you look at your org chart and you see people who are very knowledgeable, but at a lower grade, you see some people who are very senior, but they haven't adapted to new ways of thinking, new ways of doing business. You look at the gaps and you start to realize that if you don't start to have some type of system where you're cross-training people, when you have a gap, someone is out for, say, 6 months, they're out for 3 months, you're going to suffer and struggle. But if you are nurturing everyone within the organization, within your department, exposing them to what the other side does, now it's easier for the systems and the processes to continue to flow. And then people also are happy because they start realizing, oh, I didn't know that's what you were doing. I thought you were just ignoring me. But now I realize it does take you 2 hours to pull this report.
Definitely. But yeah, and also it makes like the teams gel a lot easier as well. You're removing those silos. If everyone understands everyone else's jobs, then they can find ways of making other people's lives easier. Like, I know if I prepare this report in a certain way before I send it to you, it will save you half an hour, for example, every time you have to do it. That sort of thing, where if you don't understand what their processes are, you can't do that. So yeah, I mean, there's so many benefits to this way of thinking, in my opinion, anyway.
No, a lot there. You're spot on.
Yeah. And your point, of course, as well, is if someone's out of the business for whatever reason, and you see this in small companies a lot as well, where people don't want to, they're very protective, they're doing the gatekeeper thing, and they're not thinking about what happens if something happens to them. Like the business owner, the founder especially, like they can be very protective of their knowledge and their status, their position in the organization. But ultimately, like, they will suffer most if for whatever reason they have to be absent and no one else can do the jobs.
Yep. And they always feel like, well, when it happens, I'll deal with it. You know, they play the odds and, they roll the dice.
If it happens, I'll deal with it, is what they usually say. Yeah.
Yes, if it happens. And when it normally happens? It happens during the holidays.
Yep.
Thanksgiving, Christmas. Oh, yes. You can tell stories on that. Somebody had all this leave saved up, and then ex-employee had all this leave saved up, and then no one planned for the fact that the third employee, guess what? They have a medical issue or something. So instead of 2 people being out, 3 people are out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same argument for why everything should be documented as well. Because again, that's the thing small companies tend to resist.
Exactly. No, documentation, which is when you start to document, you start to see the resistance from some people, right? Because now they started thinking, wait a minute, you're about to outsource my job. They start to not want to participate. But then those who see the future realize that it makes it easier to train the new person when they come on board. Because now there's SOPs, there's business processes, there's also the ability to have better communication with everyone in the office. Because look, this is what we agreed on how this process was working. I was working in a country and there wasn't a lot of systems in place. As a result, I was able to organize the basic business processes, not the ones that, make a decision here, but then tomorrow might depend, but just the basic business processes. Met every week, made sure that the local team agreed to the business process. Because what can happen when you bring in your external people, the experts who've been doing it for 15 years, yeah, they say it, this is how they do it, but that local environment, they may want to drink tea before they start work, right? So you got to put that in the business process, drink tea, work, and et cetera, right? Otherwise, you're off to a bad start. So you have to let the local team own it, because if someone else says it, well, they said, versus if they own it, hey, they have more buy-in. So revamp everything, not everything, revamp the basic system, basic processes, document it. The quality of work skyrocketed, all because things were documented and everybody realized we're going to do this way every single time, versus one person might save a file as the year and then the project name. The other person saves a file as project name and year.
Yeah, that consistency is really important, isn't it, in any business setting? I mean, like the more volume you're doing, the more important it becomes.
Yes.
Yeah, and as a Brit, I fully applaud any process that includes have a cup of tea, obviously.
Yeah. Most definitely. I love some Earl Grey tea. Loose leaf.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Well, big fan of coffee as well, I have to admit. But yeah, I need the caffeine.
Definitely.
Not to veer into politics too much, hopefully, but obviously having spent as long as you did in US aid, it's probably been a difficult couple of years to be watching what's happening to that organization.
Yeah, when it comes to politics, I don't speak on it because, you end up alienating half the country. And so I stay out of politics. And that's one thing that people, some people don't know, is that when you work for the federal government, you're working on behalf of that particular entity that's in the office at that point in time, and you're fulfilling their mandate. It's not about you. It's about, okay, this is the vision that they have, and you're implementing the vision that they have, because as you can imagine, everybody has an opinion, but then if you got 100 people in a room with 100 different opinions, then it becomes harder, right? But if that one person is responsible for ownership in what they do, then they own the successes and they own the failures. And so every time there was a change in administration, it was business as usual, pretty much. The only thing would change is what initiatives are the U.S. government going to focus on? And sometimes it might be a geographical shift from working in Africa to maybe working more with Europe, or another administration wants to work more with Asia. Another administration wants to focus more on health. And then another administration might want to focus on good governance. And so my job as a financial controller was just to make sure that we managed and protected the taxpayers' money.
Fair enough. And the diplomatic answer that I probably expected as well. Thank you. No, I'm well done for keeping me out of politics as well, because that's a struggle of mine.
Okay.
Yeah. I say, that pace of change between projects, every couple of years, do you get used to that? Or do you always have that sense of leaving something slightly unfinished?
With everything in life is that you get used to it because that's the norm, if that makes sense. That's how things operate. It's like, some people wake up and they drink water. Other people wake up and they have their cup of tea, right? It's like, that's the culture, right? That's the rhythm that you adjust to. And so you just adjust to it, and you input your expertise into that system at hand. And then when things change, you just adapt. And that's one thing, once again, this is why I love the Lead with Impact framework. The A stands for adapt. You have to be adaptable, because one administration might want to work with more local small businesses to help develop them. Other people might want to work with the government itself as a whole to prop up the government, to develop the government. I worked on both projects, and there's pros and cons to each one. You work with the government itself, you pump in money, you help that government system to be able to be revamped, have more internal controls, to be able to hire more people from that local country, and you see large projects get developed and implemented. On the other hand, I've seen it where you work with small businesses, especially maybe a small women-owned business, 30 employees, but they're doing great work with local farmers, women farmers in X location, X province. So that helps build up the economy. It helps build up the skill set. And also it allows small banks to invest with those small enterprises, because it showed that, look, these people have the financial knowledge, they have the technical expertise, and year one, they're planting seeds. But at year 5, they're just yielding acres of crops.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it must have been really, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but must have been great to be able to feel like you're having that kind of impact. You're being part of a project that makes that kind of difference.
It was wonderful, especially when you go on a site visit and you get the chance to see the projects that are being developed. You see the projects that were, designed on paper 3 years ago, and now you get to see them actually being implemented, seeing the people, seeing the lives being changed. It's something. It was a great, wonderful experience. Now that I retired, as a, leadership coach, I do have those memories of looking at a project, when I was in Afghanistan, or a project when I was in Zambia. So those different local projects that I got a chance to visit, still ingrained in my mind.
Not asking you to play favorites, but was there a project you worked on that you felt had the most impact, that was head and shoulders above the rest, or were they all great?
They were all great, David. Each project, because it's all about the one person, right? It's not, it's all about impacting one person at a time. That's what it's all about. And some of the impact, you truly is priceless, because the person, say there was a project we developed working with, say, women who were working on the streets. They were able to develop another skill set to be able to change their lives, change their income. That person's life is changed forever. Their children's lives are changed because of the change and support that woman had. But then you turn around and say, okay, education, being able to teach a young child how to read, how to be literate, they're going to become a doctor. So there's so many different great stories that it's hard to choose one.
I can see that. That's leadership, isn't it? Ultimately, but on like a grand, meaningful scale. Yeah, I'm not jealous.
Yeah, definitely. When you said on a grand scale, you can see that managing, $10 million project, and then you manage a $2 million project. There's huge difference in numbers, but it's still about that impact to one person at a time. That's one thing we would always look at, is how are the people impacted? Of course, the more money you have, the more impact that you can have, but it still goes back to the beneficiaries. How are they going to benefit? And for example, you might have a little girl named Sarah, right? Sarah wakes up at 5 a.m. She walks to go get water for her family, walks 5 miles. She walks back 5 miles. Now she has to walk 3 miles to school. When she gets back home from school at 3 p.m., she has to go walk and get more water. So now she walks to get more water, and then she walks back. Sarah is tired and exhausted in school. But then imagine there's a water project that's being developed by the international community, right? The Brits, US, Swedish, all these different countries come together and they start building boreholes in local communities. Now, Sarah no longer has to walk and get up early, so she has time to concentrate in class.
Yeah, it reminds me of that metaphor about shoes. You've probably heard it, but the reason why, having money and not having money makes a difference in the simple example of the shoes is the poorer person will probably spend a lot less on a pair of shoes, but they'll have to do it like every 6 months or something because they fall apart. Whereas the well-off person spends $50 or $100 on a pair, but they'll last like 10 years. And it's such a great illustration of the difference, isn't it? Which it always sticks in my mind.
Yeah, resources make a huge impact.
Yeah. Whereas, like numerically, the difference isn't that great, is it? And actually the person, paradoxically maybe, the person with the least money probably ends up spending more on that simple essential over a long period of time.
And it happens. Quality, right? Quality does matter. My wife was telling me one time, like, why are you buying that? Oh, because it's cheap. But no, it's not going to last. Go ahead and spend the extra dollars for something quality. For example, there's a shirt brand I love. I love wearing Johnson Murphy shoes and shirts. Can you believe that I have these shirts that I bought when I joined as a U.S. diplomat? I still have the shirts. Talking about quality.
Yeah. Because it's cheap. Well, yeah, I mean, it is right now, but it's not over the years, is it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Great lesson, that. Let's talk a little bit about integrity. So it's been said that integrity is, and it's one of my favorite definitions, this actually, as you can imagine, I hear quite a lot because of the name of the podcast. But so it's been said that integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's watching. In the leadership context, though, why do you think integrity is often the most tested when things are going wrong, when everything's falling apart around you?
Wow, there's multiple answers. Ownership, right? When it comes down to a failure in a project didn't deliver, people go back and say, what happened? That leader for their division, they go back and they take a look. You got the leader over project development. You got the leader over, say, internal controls. You have the director. Everybody's looking and find out, wait a minute, what happened? How did this project fail? Now, the leader for internal controls looks down and realizes that when they look at the report, that their team actually never interviewed the procurement specialist, right? Or that their team never verified that the location existed. So now, if that director tells everyone that, we failed to check, what do you think is going to happen to that person, right? There's a big chance that they might get fired. Or could it really be a learning lesson? So people don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to lose money. So that's when you start to have integrity issues and problems. Whereas if there's an organization that's all about failure, hey, let's fail fast and learn from it. Let's fail fast and learn from it. Some of the big companies are kind of like that, who are into development. They're like, okay, we realize that doesn't work. We'll make a correction, and then we'll make sure we prevent this from happening. So it comes down to your organizational culture. If your organization rewards people who have bad integrity, well, guess what? They're going to continue to step over people to get to the top. They're not going to tell you what the real problem is because you really don't want to hear it because your actions speak louder than words.
That's so spot on. They don't want to hear it. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know. It's a funny one, isn't it, though? I think there's the right kinds of organizations. I feel like you're going to be more likely to have that bad outcome and get fired or whatever if you try and hide the mistake than if you just owned up to it.
Well, I think sometimes they won't catch it. Like,
depends how big it is, I guess, doesn't it? How bad it is.
Right. They won't catch it because they can. Because think about it. If you realize, like, say you're the director of the health, and your team was responsible for medical supplies, and your team was responsible for making sure that they checked that the vial sizes were a certain size. But someone also realized that this particular vial size is very popular in the private sector. Like, they're hard to get. It's hard to get these vials because they're so expensive. Fast forward 2 years from now, from the project development, all of a sudden, these vials are showing up in the black market, right? They're in the black market. They're being sold. And people are like, wait a minute, how are these vials in the market and they have our logo on it? Like, how did this happen? So you end up with a dilemma there. Should there have been more internal controls, more spot checks and counts on the equipment? Should the person have known that ex-government employee might want to siphon some off to make extra money to buy 3 houses in Europe or in the US? So whose fault is it? Is it somebody? Who do you blame, you know? And so, but at the same time, it's hard for the director of the division to really say that, hey, John, you know that this probably was going to get stolen in year 2 or something. It's going to be siphoned off. Why didn't you do spot checks? Why didn't you do? Well, no. We're not auditors. You see, that's what they're going to say. We're not auditors. We don't know. We didn't know that. So you see, they shift the blame to somebody else, to the accounting side. The accountants and people are saying, wait a minute. We don't even know the difference between a 3 milliliter valve and a 5 milliliter valve. That's your expertise. So it goes like this.
Yeah. I mean, in that sort of scenario, I have a fair bit of sympathy for that, because to a point, like, there's only so far you can go to try and preempt a bad actor or someone who's knowingly done something criminal, as opposed to like an honest mistake.
Yes.
So yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's the kind of ethical dilemmas, isn't it? Which I guess they trained you all about.
Yes.
You've mentioned your lead with impact framework already. Would you like to take us through it in a bit more detail? Tell us a bit more about it and how you apply it with your clients?
Yeah. So the L stands for listen. The E stands for empower your employees. The A stands for adapt to changing environments. And D stands for develop your employees. I'll give you an example of each one. L, listen. Imagine, David, you have two different supervisors, right? You work in a hybrid organization. So you have shared project managers. Project manager John comes up to you and says, hey, what are you doing for the weekend? You say, oh, I'm going to go and watch a football game. Oh, okay. Who's playing? You say X team is playing. Oh, okay. Sarah, your other project manager, says nothing, goes off for the weekend. Monday morning, John comes up and says, hey, did your team win? You say, oh, yeah, they won. Oh, man, how was it? It was great. It was fun. It was exciting. Sarah walks in the office, passes you by, goes to her office and sits down and closes the door. 1 p.m., John comes up to you. He's like, oh, David, I got this project. They need this report. It's going to take some time. It might take like 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. Can you work on this? Can you squeeze this in and make everything else a less priority? How are you feeling? You feeling a little, you might want to help John out, right?
Yeah. I mean, you feel like there's more in the relationship, don't you? Because they've taken the time to.
Exactly. The next day, Tuesday, Sarah comes up to you, 1 o'clock as well. Hey, David, I need you to work on this project. I need you to stay and work on this. How are you feeling when Sarah comes to you?
Yeah. Oh, now you want to talk to me. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've learned that when leaders really listen to their employees, talk to them, understand who they are as a person, they're able to do more. And they are able to increase morale within the team. E, empower. I teach this lesson on, are you delegating, empowering the right people? And if you're not, then there's a whole skill set that we can go through. But once again, is the new employee who's a 8 in motivation, you're going to have to sit with them more often to get them up to speed, to teach them things because they lack the skills within your organization, how you do it, right? There's more than one way on how things are done. So you need to learn how it's done in your company. Once you've taught them, you or someone you delegated to teach them, now you can start empowering them to take on more responsibilities. Adapt to change. Right now, we're using a lot of ChatGPT. There's no more going through the file, trying to create a new report and changing X name out, with the new project name and changing out the numbers. You can put that thing in ChatGPT and say, use our template. Here's the name of the new project. Here's the budget amount. Chat spits that thing out in like 30 seconds. Done. D, develop other people. You grew up amongst the ranks. There were some lessons you learned along the way. You realize that, hey, how you treat people is how others are going to treat you. Then the true test of a leader is how many leaders are you training? 5 years from now, when you look back over your career, can you truly say that you developed 3 leaders, 5 leaders, or is it 0? So that's how I coach leaders to lead with impact. When I'm doing workshops for organizations, I have them do different scenarios so that they can really implement this tool. And it's a quick tool because the acronym is LEAD, right? So now it's Friday. David is managing this team and he realizes, wait a minute, let me go walk around and talk to my team members to find out, how are you going to spend your weekend? What are you going to be doing? So Monday morning, when your team comes back, you can say, how was the birthday party for your son? How was the graduation for your daughter? So you're building relations with your team. It's not about, I'm the boss. I only talk to you when I need something.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that. Because we've all worked for those sort of managers and leaders over our time, I'm sure. They literally only talk to you when they want you to do something. And that's it. And then you don't hear from them again until the next thing.
Until the next urgent fire that needs to be put out, and now they need your help.
Yeah. And also, I've got to say, because I say this every time, if everything is urgent, nothing is urgent. Like, that used to wind me up.
When you work in a fast-paced environment with everything is urgent and seeing people get burnt out, you realize real quick that you need to put a system in place. And I had to shut down operations. I was working in the country. David, I had a notice that went out that said on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 2 p.m., our offices are closed. Don't come down. Because there's a thing called hurried sickness, which means that people will make basic mistakes because every time somebody walks to your desk and they're hovering over you like this, hey, where's my payment? Hey, did you see the email I sent you? Hey, what about this? Hey, I got a question for you. You start to make basic mistakes. You go back and you look at the email you sent, you say, wait a minute, how did I misspell the word, letter? How did I misspell the word audit? How did I misspell the word progress? Like, how did I do that? It's called hurried sickness. And so I realized a lot of leaders, they face burnout, which is why they can go on my website and download the leadership and financial wellness kit to avoid burnout.
Yeah, it feels like one of those things that the further we get into whatever the latest iteration of modern workplaces is, the worse this seems to get. And AI, in theory, should be saving a lot of this, but I don't know that it is.
Well, AI can be, as we know, so the other side of AI is that sometimes it'll spit out the wrong information. Like, have you ever put something in AI and then you tell that thing, wait a minute, I didn't do that, right? It says that you used to work for, X company. And you're like, no. You take that out my bio. I never worked for NASA. Like, it'll just make up some stuff sometimes,
It is very inventive, though, isn't it? Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't trust it with anything where the facts matter. That's my personal rule at the moment.
That's a wonderful aspect. It can help you get a little further down the street. It's like going from the bicycle to the automobile. It gets you a little faster, but you still have to make sure you got your seatbelt on and other safety guards around what you're putting in and what it spits out.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in other words, proofread everything. There we go.
Yes.
Which most of us were doing anyway, weren't we? I don't know. Maybe just me.
Well, that depends on the employee, the ownership, and there's classic examples of something didn't go right because everyone thought the other person checked it.
Yeah, there was one especially famous one, wasn't there? I want to say it was to do with an oil spill or something, but my memory might be failing me. Anyway, I have to research that another day.
There's so many classic examples. You might have bought the golden toilet for, cost you a $5,000 for a toilet seat. Like what? How does a toilet seat cost $5,000? And it was a rounding error. Instead of $5,000, should have been $500, but no one checked,
Yeah, or the classic, like buying the executive chairs on Amazon and not noticing the dimensions. It turned out to be like model sized. It was like 1.5 inches tall.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotta love it though. Wouldn't have these fun stories otherwise, would we?
Of course.
Okay, so what would you say has been the biggest leadership lesson that you've learned from your career so far?
Biggest leadership lesson I learned is that I like to hold people accountable, right? I like to fix things. I like things to work like a well-oiled machine. But I faced a failure. I realized something. Sometimes it's not all about the numbers. I was working in a country. I eradicated a lot of issues, a lot of problems within the system, internal controls. So I was able to correct and fix it. But then the feedback was that the team did not like my management style. The team did not like how I was holding them accountable. They did not like that. And that's when I realized that, hey, Michael, there's more to leadership than a number. You see, accolades, I was getting accolades for changing things around. I was getting accolades for making sure that there was no holes in the accounting system. But the way I was leading the people, I needed to do it in a better, more collaborative way. So once I got that feedback, the rest, as you say, is history. I changed my leadership style and I went on to be able to go to other countries, being more collaborative and still getting the job done.
That's the key bit, isn't it? Still getting the job done. Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions or draw like generalizations, but people with finance background do tend to focus on the numbers before the people, I find.
Yes, because, it's that personality type, right? A plus B equals C, right? A plus B equals C. Hey, do this, you get that. But wait a minute, emotion? We need to worry about the emotional aspect? Where do we put that in the equation? A plus B equals C.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's a virtue of the training as well. Like you're taught about numbers, and that's your thing. That's your role, your job. That's what you do. So it makes sense.
Yes, and this is why a lot of organizations are suffering with like burnout and high turnover because they don't understand how to teach and train the directors and leaders who are now managing people. They're not managing numbers. Numbers don't have a voice. But people have emotions. So they're not teaching them how to lead with emotional intelligence. And that's why people burn out. You look around a team, ex-supervisor took over the team, and now 3 employees have left the team.
Yeah, I think there's been quite a few shifts in the workplace over the last decade or two as well. And in society at large. I think the COVID experience definitely had an impact on that as well. And there's maybe a generational aspect to it too. So there's a whole thing. So yeah, like 15, 20 years ago, it would have been fine to just be, for any leader really, to focus on the numbers, the bottom line, Well, it wouldn't have been fine. It would have been perceived as fine. Let's say that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would have been rewarded, right?
Indeed, yeah. Whereas now I think that has shifted, at least from the point of view of the workforce and what people expect from their jobs and their places of employment.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's a really interesting one. I talk about it too much.
Hey, no, that's because you're seeing it, right? You're seeing
Yeah.
the lens of the gaps, changes that are taking place, and that some organizations aren't making the shift. They're not adjusting. And as a result, they're going to face some obstacles, some turbulence within the organization if they don't fix it and make adjustments sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. It was, I think, particularly interesting, like the COVID years and then that year immediately after, where the pendulum had like swung in favor of the employee for a little while.
Yes.
And I think it's starting to swing back again now, unfortunately.
It is.
Yeah. So what's been your worst or best or both, if you like, experiences of being led during your career? You don't have to name names unless you want to.
Let me pause and reflect on the best experience of being led. I think it's when it's been when I might have had a difference of opinion in how to manage people. For example, you get a chance to see what leaders above you value. And sometimes you realize that some leaders, they don't value the people. As a result of them not valuing the people, they're all about the external political capital that they can gain. So I learned by watching, is the point I'm making. I learned by watching to see, okay, what do the leaders above me value? And once I realized that they don't really value the people below them, they just value the external perceptions, well, you adjust. Also, if you realize that some directors, they don't want to hold people accountable. They don't want to hold people accountable whatsoever. So then you adjust, which means that you might need to hire an extra person on your team because you have a few bad actors to fill the gap, because upper management doesn't want to deal with that issue. You have some leaders that are people. They like to walk around and talk to different people every Friday. Others are like, look, don't talk to me. I'm busy. You come to me. So I learned by watching.
Yeah, there's a whole topic around that sort of that managing upwards in there, leading upwards,
Yeah.
I prefer.
Yes.
And I feel like, that's a really great tip. Like the first part of that has to be you like watch, listen, see what the priorities are for that person. And sometimes, that is going to mean you sort of have to stand between them and some of their worst instincts, shall we say.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's that old middle manager squeeze again, isn't it?
In the middle, the people are chirping da 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 da. At the top, you see that the person actually doesn't care. So it's like, do you tell the people that actually don't care, or you just, you kind of hint upwards that some squeaky noises happening here and there. You say, yeah, that is a concern. Maybe it'll be addressed 2 months from now, etc. So you're buffering, right? Like until eventually, last story for you. I came into a position temporarily, and I became the person. I was at the bottom like, well, this needs to be changed. Guess what? Who was in that seat? All of a sudden, I found myself in the seat, and I started making changes immediately using the limited resources, which was the people. Hey, can you help me do this? This person, can you help put this in place? And it's amazing what you can do when you collaborate and network with other people.
100% with you there. 100%. It's it's a tough position to be in, isn't it? And I think, particularly the bit about like whether you tell people that the higher ups don't care about something or other. It's an integrity test, isn't it? Ultimately, because how do you do that in a way that is truthful at its core, but without just flat out saying, yeah, they don't care? Because obviously, the second you do that, motivation disappears. It's a real tricky one.
It's a balance. You have to balance it,
Yeah. I always try to skirt around it and just say, I care.
Yeah. And they'll see that, right? They'll see that you care, that you're waiting for that right opportunity for things to change.
That's it. And obviously you have to follow through with your actions as well. You can't just say it and then disappear.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I've got 2 questions left for you. They're both, I think they're quite difficult, but some guests find them really easy and others agree with me. So we'll see where you land.
Okay.
All right. So the first of them is, if you could start your career over again, is there anything you would do differently?
If I could start my career over, the only one thing I would do differently is that I would have posted more of my life and work on social media. Because of the nature of my job and my security clearances, I was cautious with my social media appearances and et cetera. So now I look back and there was a lot of great moments that I could have shown to the world and to other people to show the great work that I was leading, and also as a lifestyle for my kids and memories. That's the only thing that I would change.
Interesting. Understandable, especially some of the places that you worked. It probably would have been actually quite dangerous to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, did you take photos and things? Like, did you keep records personally? Like, could you use them today for some of those purposes?
I have some pictures, but I wasn't really taking pictures because I knew there was no motive because I wasn't going to put them on social media and et cetera. Yeah. So that's a project I do have that I wanted to go back and go through my photos and just start posting on social media. Like, oh, here's me when I was in Egypt on a camel. Okay, here's me when I was, maybe, and I don't even know if I have a picture when I was in Afghanistan, right? A picture of my rug I bought, for example.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. I'm no social media expert, but I think people love that sort of stuff. So I'm told. So yeah. And I'd like to see it. So
yeah, that'll be a series. I'll put out my weekly picture on LinkedIn, from X time with a leadership tip.
Well, I look forward to it. And last question. We're nearly out of time. So it's leadership heroes.
Leadership heroes.
So if you had to pick one person, but it could be anyone you could think of, they could be alive or dead, past or present, historical figure, real or even fictitious, if you feel like that. But it's got to be someone who, in your opinion, would perfectly embody leadership. So who would that be for you and why?
It would be my first mission director, James Watson. He would come down and he would speak to me as a newly minted, milk, on my lip, U.S. diplomat. And he would just, have a little short conversation with me. And every month, or at least a month or biweekly, he would meet with all the new young diplomats and say, look, embrace the moment. The work is always going to be there. Right? He would say, go and learn about the other divisions within the company to find out what they're doing. Because trust me, the work will always be there. You'll always be he said, Michael, there'll always be a voucher that you need to pay. Always. So get up and go sit with people who do procurement. Go sit with people who are designing health projects. And so that information is what helped me to be able to look at leadership and my job and my career differently. He also told me, Michael, go do a rotation and sit in another division for like 6 weeks rotation. Once again, you're understanding the organizational culture, how things are done. You're building relationships with other people, which allows you to be able to lead with impact because you're listening to the heartbeat of the organization, which is something that has been near and dear to me, is that I make sure that I'm up here, right? Now, when I'm a director, people see me like this. So when I stop and have a 5-minute conversation with them, it means a lot to that particular employee, or like, wow, the big boss is talking to me. So Mission Director James Watson was very instrumental in my career, helping me to realize that we need to develop our other leaders. Sit down, take time to develop them, talk to them, and then the organization will continue to grow and other people will be able to feel empowered to be able to be a part of the organization.
Yeah, and we talked earlier, didn't we, about the many reasons why that's a good idea. I think it's quite rare, though, to find a leader with the confidence to actively tell their people to go and do that, I think.
Yeah, no, it is. It is very rare because people are looking at what's in it for them today. What's in it for them today? You going to go sit with a procurement office means that you're not reading this project design report for a project that might be 2 months behind. By you doing that, it's slowing down productivity today for us. But in the future, 6 years from now, you're a new office director and your team is saying like, hey, the procurement people are taking forever to review this. Your expert knowledge from the time that you sat with the procurement team to say, here's probably why it's taking long. The person doesn't have the right qualifications. Actually, the person never even submitted their information in the system. If that company doesn't submit their information in the system, there's nothing that procurement team can do. Yeah, I know they're telling you they submitted everything, but they never actually submitted their 2 years audit report. They never did it.
Yeah.
So it's that knowledge of being in other rooms early in your career can help temper down expectations.
Yeah. I like as well, there's a lot of pressure, I think, in the world of work, and there has been pretty much the entire time I've been in it, on like specialization, get really, really good at this one thing. But I think we miss something, though. I think that ability to be a bit of a generalist is quite an important skill to have as well.
Yes, that's why you have to be, you have to have the emotional intelligence, right? To be like, okay, I'm an expert at this, but at the same time, how do I interact with other people, other divisions, so that I can be a better communicator, so that I can have empathy for the issues that they're facing.
Yeah. Speak their language, if you will. Yeah,
definitely.
Perhaps not literally, but. Well, Michael, I've had a great time talking with you today. Thank you so much for your time, for being with us. One small half question I'll ask you at the end is if anyone in the audience would like to learn more about you, perhaps reach out, work with you, etc. What are the links? Where can they do that?
Yes, they can go to michaeldillardspeaks.com, MichaelDillardSpeaks.com. You're going to notice that there is a leadership and financial wellness kit. You're going to get access to like $1,600 in value. There's workshops, there's guides to help you lead with impact as a leader. And also, a lot of people are making six figures, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. As a result, there's all types of modules that's available for you for free, because the most important thing is that we take care of people, that we help leaders avoid burnout. This is my way of giving back, because I can't be, in every organization every week teaching or doing a keynote.
Awesome. Well, I'll pop that link in the show notes as well, so everyone can find it easily. And thank you again so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Likewise. Thanks for having me. Thanks, audience.
Thank you, Michael, for a very open conversation there, and excellent application of your diplomatic skills as well on the politics question. But it was great talking about some of those bigger issues of leadership and to explore your frameworks and hear your take on integrity too. Viewers, listeners, do check out those links in the description, in the show notes, to find out more about Michael and what he does today. Perhaps reach out to him, as I know he would love to hear from you. If you are new to leadership, you're a first-time manager or founder, and you are struggling to swim in the deep end that you found yourself in, or perhaps you're finding it tough to survive in the outer space of leadership, and you're fed up of trying to make it up as you go, then I encourage you to come and join my Integrity Leaders online community. It is built specifically for new founders, first-time managers, fledgling leaders. You can be part of a supportive community where you can gain clarity on your leadership style so that you can lead with more confidence. It's a safe space where questions are encouraged. You can share experiences with others in similar positions in their careers as you, people who get it, all of which while benefiting from exclusive leadership resources, documents, courses, and early access to the Leading with Integrity podcast every week. So to learn more or sign up today, you can visit www.leadingwithintegrity.co.uk, click on that green button on the homepage. And don't forget as well, you can use your listener or viewer exclusive discount code, which is on the screen and also in the show notes for you. So that'll give you 50% off your membership for as long as you stay a member. And you should always please feel free to find me on LinkedIn too. Drop me a DM if you have any leadership questions or if you want to know more about integrity leaders. That's all from me today. Huge thank you again for listening and or watching. Do join me again next week when I'm chatting with Lynn Colpore about her journey from professional musician to digital marketing extraordinaire to business founder and what she's learned about people from using AI in her business. It's a great discussion full of insight and laughter. Sci-fi and Battlestar Galactica may come up as well, so it's another one not to be missed. Anyway, I will talk to you then, and in the meantime, be a leader, not a boss.